Hi, everybody. This is Jeff O'Brien from Maintenance Assistant, CMMS. The session is just about to start. Now, I have everybody on mute. We probably will probably have people coming and going, and it can be quite annoying and disruptive. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave everybody on mute. I'm going to keep going till the end of the session, which is about 25 minutes to half an hour, and then I'm going to open up the floor for anybody who's got any questions. Okay. So the class today is very basic CMMS setup. It's setting up your assets in the CMMS. And today we're going to take a look at asset categories, our hierarchy, how to add assets to the system, how to print our QR codes, which is quite quick. We're going to have a quick look at how to do an asset import. I'm going to just give you a quick look at MA Source. We do have a full MA Source class on Wednesday, but I'm just going to give you a quick overview. Then add some parts, and then we're going to do our Q&A. And as I say, it should take about 25 minutes to half an hour. I am recording this session, so if you have to leave at any point, you'll be able to get the recorded session on our support videos page on our website. Okay. I'm just going to check if everybody can hear me okay. So if you just want to type in your chat box. Okay, Amir says good. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's kick into it. So I'm going to just open up the CMMS. And here I just have a demo CMMS created. I've opened it up on the assets page. You'll see the asset hierarchy here. And we have this particular CMMS, we have a number of different locations. Now this CMMS is slightly different. It has multi-site setup. This is an optional feature. I think it comes with the enterprise package. It's for customers who have a large amount of sites, and they're distinctly different, as in the technicians work in different, maybe it could be different town, it could be a different country, etc. But it's pretty much all the same thing. If I open up the Belmont site, for example, I see here in the hierarchy, I have my generator room. In my generator room, I've got my listed piece of equipment. If I open up the Springfield site, I have two facilities there. One of them I've got a demolition robot. The other one actually have a demolition robot as well. So the asset hierarchy, it's very like your files on your computer. You've got your pretty much like your Windows Explorer, or if you have Mac, it's the Finder. It's pretty much a way to kind of categorize or locate your assets in a kind of visual format that you'll be able to find. So if you can imagine coming in, zooming in from above the site, you come in from your main location, and as you arrive down from above, you've got your buildings. Inside your buildings, you got your floors. Inside your floors, you got your departments. In your departments, you got your rooms. In your rooms, you got your equipment. And then even on your equipment, you can have submodules, modules, right down to the component if you want. So the number of levels of hierarchy is completely up to you. In this example here, looks like I've got 1, 2, 3 levels, but I have seen customers where they have got up to 10 levels in their hierarchy, where they get right down to the nitty gritty, right down to the detail. The advantages of doing that, if you ever have any if you're a large site, obviously it makes sense, but also for some repairable parts. This is where we put our repairable parts. We put them into our asset tree here. So those parts can be repaired. We can do work orders on them, and then we can swap them out as needed. If I look above here at the top, I see I've got my filters. And these are my asset category filters. So again, if you have your files on your computer, this is a way of maybe looking for the file type. So for example, if I wanted to look for all the Excel files on my computer, or all the Word files, this is pretty much looking for assets of a type. And I have created a number of custom categories here. They're underneath the equipment main category. So rather than just categorize everything as equipment, I've created some other ones: air compressors, air conditioning systems. When it comes down to my vehicles, I've actually got subcategories again. I've broken down my vehicles into Ford Focuses and GMCs, and you can have as many different levels again of asset categories as you choose. And when you're setting it up, you can decide if say for example the Ford Focus inherits the rules for the vehicles category. So to set up a new category, let's just do that quickly. Let's say we want to set up a new asset category for a new car. Let's say it's a Dodge. We have a new fleet of Dodge cars coming. So we want to set up a category quickly. So let's say go to the settings section, CMMS settings. We have here is our asset category. I just select new at the bottom. I'm going to call this my Dodge Ram Trucks. The parent, I'm going to choose the vehicles category here and click OK. And you'll see here it sits right underneath the vehicles category, which is under the assets, which again is under the equipment, which is under the assets. You can create as many categories as you want, and again as many layers as you want. So now if I go back into my CMMS, and let's say I want to create an asset for this new category. So we've just ordered a fleet of trucks and they have arrived. They could be new, they could be secondhand. So let's say it is a piece of equipment, a machine. I'm going to locate it in the Chicago area, in our Chicago plant. So first thing I'm going to put in is the name here. Now this is where some people get confused. We do have a lot of fields here. So look down at the bottom here, you'll see make, model, serial number. So this could be like Dodge Ram. Serial number is probably the VIN number off the car. It could be like a 20-digit number, something like that. Let's say, I'm not too sure, 250. I'm not too sure the models, but let's just put that in. Up here at the top, we do have these two fields, which some people, they're not too sure what to do with these fields. This is your asset name, is the top one, and the asset description below. The asset name, in this case, we do have a Dodge Ram 250, but let's say we have 10 of those. So what we need to do is we need to some way differentiate it so we can find it in the system, or guys can find it in the system. Now with cars, it's great because you can put a license plate in, maybe name it by the so it could be Dodge Ram, and the license plate, G whatever 181 BB, something like that, and that means our technicians can find it when they're doing work in the system. I'm just going to click save. I do have a blog here that might be worth having a read of afterwards, which asset is which, the importance of a naming convention. And in the example here, it's quite hard to see, but you'll be able to see it when you take a read. This facility has a load of different boilers, a load of different generators. But when the technicians go to, create work orders or complete work orders in the boilers, which one do they go to? There is quite a simple solution. It's called an asset naming convention. In this example here, I've used country code, building number, equipment code, and equipment type, and they've come up with an asset naming convention. Here's one here with the boat. So here's the example. We have a boat. It's called a Henley, and then we've named the engine on this boat as Hen Eng 01. So that's engine 1 on the Henley. So you can play around with this. I'm going to just pop it into the screen, into the chat window there if you want to take a read of it afterwards. It's just a simple way of doing it. I mean, it's completely up to you. You have to decide how best to build that for your own organization. In the category here, I'm going to change that to the Dodge because I want to keep like for like. The advantage of using the categories is once you categorize your assets, whenever you want to run reports, I can run a report just for my Dodge Ram trucks. I can see, how are these guys performing? How many work orders are on them? What's the availability? So you're comparing like for like, rather than comparing machines against, they're completely different machines, irrelevant. Some of them have high availability, some never break down, some do. So that doesn't really make sense. But by categorizing them, we can then do like for like. This Dodge Ram, it has inherited the location of the Chicago plant, which here is on the map here. Now I have the option again of I can override this inherited location. So if I want to use GPS coordinates, so say this truck or this generator is out on a long motorway or something like that, I can actually move the pointer around and give it a new location. And then I just save to update. I think that should work then. So it is located at this site, but it's not using the actual GPS coordinates. It is maybe based at this site, but it's off-site, maybe just outside the main gate or something like that. The other option here is the equipment is part of. So with equipment, you can have it located in a building, or it could be part of another piece of equipment. The perfect example is the engine on a motorboat. So the boat is the main asset, and then the 3 engines or 2 engines on the back are your child assets. So in that case, I would click this radio button here and pick boat from the drop down. Down here below, a couple of other fields I can use. Account. This is if you are maybe a service provider and you want to charge some work orders to an account. So you could be a maintenance guy on an apartment building or a condo building or something, and you can pick your you're going to charge that to the account. The work gets charged or billed to that company, and you can run those reports and you can filter by account if needed. The charge department is more for internal use. So this asset is located in this area, but I can actually charge it or assign this asset to a charge department. So for example, in my location, in my hierarchy, I've got like, 5 different maybe buildings. I can actually assign this asset to, a charge department in that building. In the parts section here, this is where I add my listed consumable parts on this asset. So these are the things that would go on the Dodge Ram. They are your, your filters, your oil, your tires, anything that can be used and consumed and thrown away generally afterwards. So if I just go down to my parts list, I can see here's let's see, Caterpillar gasket. So let's assign this, and this has got 2 parts listed on this asset. I can also add a bill of materials list. And for the Dodge Ram trucks, if I have 10 of them in my facility, it doesn't make sense to build this list for each asset. What I would do is I would go to my supply section and build a bill of materials list, and then I can just auto-populate it. Now, I don't have a Dodge Ram one here, but I do have a Ford Focus spare parts list. So when I add that, all those Ford Focus's parts get added to the list. So these are the parts that are listed in the system that we have as consumable parts in our storeroom, and they go in this system. And the advantage of this is this works both ways. If you assign this to the asset, and when you find that part, or if you want to check which part uses this asset, so say you find the O-ring on the floor and you don't know, what a piece of equipment or vehicle it goes on, you just check your CMMS, and then you can say, oh, well, this is used on the Dodge Rams. In the metering, so this is where we log our meters on this asset. So let's say this asset was purchased secondhand, it's not new. And these are all customizable. These are user definable. You can add new meters if you need. So this is, let's say it's an American vehicle, so we'll use mileage. And we purchased it and there was 20,000 miles on the asset. So that's just to keep a log. And as guys, as we're doing our, either weekly checks or monthly checks, our technicians can log those meter readings in the work order, and we'll have a full log of them here. If you ever want to check your history, so let me just log a second one here. So let's say we have 21,000 on it now. Log it as miles as well. Click OK. It now shows the latest meter reading, but if I click into it, I can always see that history, and this history will build up over time. I'll have a long list there of meter readings. I can also run a report as well that will output those meter readings for this particular asset. Asset events at the bottom here. This is you can set up your schedule maintenance to go by time. You can go by meter reading, or you can also go by asset event. An asset event could be, a temperature spike. It could be a flood. It could be an earthquake. It could be anything that happens. And when it happens, you need to run a particular checks on the system. So maybe in an earthquake zone, if there is an earthquake above 5, on the Richter scale, you want to run some calibration tests to make sure the system is okay. So you would log that event saying that that happened on the system, and then you would run, or that scheduled maintenance will be triggered, and the guys would then run their calibration checks, etc. You can also, we do have some machine integration. Right now, you can actually tie this if you have Tritium, or I think it's called Niagara. You can tie this directly into your assets, so they can communicate directly with the CMMS and they can log those events. So if the temperature goes above a certain limit, maybe there's a problem, a fault or something, so this can actually communicate directly with the CMMS. In the personnel section, this is where we add our listed users on the asset. So for example, this Dodge Ram, I can add an individual, so the person who is going to do all the repairs, or I can also add a group. So anything happens on this asset, this person is going to get notified, or this group is going to get notified. It does mean that the person is going to get all those notifications. So we want to make sure that they don't obviously get overwhelmed with notifications, but they're going to get notified when this Dodge Ram goes in for a service or something like that. The warranties, we keep track of our warranties in the system here. This is where we can, who's providing these. Let's say this company here. It's going to be based on meter reading up to 100,000 miles. I've got a warranty. I can just log it here. If it's a time-based, what it will do, the system will do. So say this is like 2 years or certain mileage, whatever comes first. Before this, I think it's 60 days before this expiry date, it's going to give you a warning and let you know that your asset is due to exit the warranty period. So if you need to get any work done, etc., you can do that. Of course, at any point in time, if the guys are, there's a problem on this Dodge truck, they can just log into the CMMS and see, is this covered under warranty, or is it something that you guys will have to pay for. The businesses section, this is where we list the businesses who have been associated with this asset, be they, they manufactured it, or they're service providers on it. Maybe they're the guys we call when we need to get the work done. You can fill in that other information there as needed. Purchasing is our purchase record. So this is where we would add the purchase information. So who do we buy this part from? Well, obviously, it might not be the person who manufactured it. It could be a local dealership or something like that. We ordered on the 4th. We took delivery of it today, and we pay, let's say you pay 30,000 for it. And there is no expiry. It's not a glue. It's not a chemical. So we don't need to put an expiry date on it. So that record is there. In our file section, this is where we can upload a photo of the asset. So very easy to do. So let's just go to Google. So let's get a picture of the Dodge Ram truck. I'll just take this one here. I'll go save it. Oops, cancel that one. Save image as. And it's Dodge. I go to my desktop here. See, I can drag this straight in. There's the Dodge. I just bring it straight in, and it's going to upload that directly. And I will upload that, and I will store it as the default image. And by storing it as the default image, it means any other images that are brought in, it's going to they're not going to overwrite the main image on the asset. I can also add here my schematics, documents, manuals, anything that might be needed. The custom fields, these are the custom fields that come with this asset. These are tied to the category. So if I create a maybe a field here called tonnage, this is maybe the max, maybe call it the max weight actually. So this is the max towing weight. I can add that here to this particular category, and it's going to stay with that category. I have to go back in now and come back out just to make that happen. But let's see, Dodge Ram should be there. No, it's not working. I need to check on that. But in the log section, the final thing, it's our history of all our open work orders, closed work orders, our scheduled maintenance, parts consumed in this asset. It's all blank now because it's a new asset. But over time, your cost tracking, etc., all this is going to fill up, and you'll have a full record of what was done in the system, what is done on a regular basis, etc. Okay. So the next thing we're going to have a quick look at is QR codes. So QR codes, in the corner of the Dodge Ram here, you'll see this black thing here. This is it's called a QR code. It's a bit like a barcode, except it's just more information. And these can be scanned using a mobile smartphone or a cell phone, something like that. So when you click on, or when you scan this with your cell phone, it will take you right to the asset record. So to print out the QR codes, I have a button here at the top here called Print Asset Tags, and this is at the top of my asset list. Now you are limited to 60 records on screen on your CMMS, and the reason is for speed of download. If we had like that unlimited, it would take forever for your application to load up, your load time. So what you can do is you can check all the assets off if needed, or you can just check what you need. And you click Print Assets. If you click the blue link here, Print Asset Tags, if you click the blue link, that's going to take you to the details on the manufacturer, which is Avery, and you can order them if needed. So if I just show you now what it looks like, it's going to create a PDF of all the assets with all those QR codes. I can then print this out on Avery labels, and they can be plastic, they can be paper labels, or they can be those silver waterproof labels. I can print them out on laser printer, and then I can stick them on my assets. And we do have a lot of customers who do this. It means the guys can just, technicians can walk up to a system and they can just scan it. They can see what open work orders are there or see what has to be done. It also means for guest work requesters, so somebody, say security's walking by a machine, like could be the Coke machine, and the Coke machine is not working. They scan the QR code and they create a work request saying that the Coke machine is not working. And that will go straight then to the maintenance queue. This is designed to work on Avery labels, but if you go to our help desk, we do have a procedure there that explains how to create those QR codes if you want to use your own labeling system. So if you've got like larger labels, or if you have different type printer, you can do that using the procedure that we created built into the system. It's just for those Avery labels, which are the most standard labels we could find. Okay, so we're going to have a quick look at asset import now. So in the asset import here, I have created, or in the asset hierarchy, in my Chicago location in the hierarchy, I've created an asset import location. Now this is purely just to highlight it to you. It could be, maybe it's building 1 or something like that. Maybe the Ford Focus and the Dodge are in the yard, but this is, maybe we'll just call it building 1 then, why not? Just for now, just so you can see it. Building 1, and I have created a asset import sheet. This is just a demo sheet. I created this just for demonstration purposes only. I have here a list of asset names. I also have asset codes. Now I have to be careful I don't override a code that's already in the system. So I've just started at 7,000 to started new. You can put whatever code you want in there. If you're using your asset naming convention, it won't make much of a difference. If you leave the code blank, the system will just create those codes automatically for you. I also have my categories, and if I go back to my categories here in my CMMS, we'll just see what I have. I'm not even sure if I have all those categories. I do Etch, Fusion, HVAC. It looks like they're there, Etch, Fusion, HVAC, and trucks. If those categories are not there, like for example, these ones are blank, the system will automatically assign a default category to it, and we'll see that when we're doing the import. So I've left those blank on purpose. Now what I might do is I might create one that's completely new. So let's just call this one here photo lith. Now this category is not in the system. So what the system is going to do, it's going to look for the category, can't find it. It's not going to match it up with anything we have, so it's going to create it automatically. So the asset import is actually a good way of, when setting up your system, you can actually set up your assets in a Excel, and then you can just import it into the system in one go, and you can create all those. You can actually create the asset hierarchy from an Excel sheet, and you can create all those categories, etc. You can also create users, businesses, etc. all through the import. So the manufacturer details there. You'll notice here in my sheet I've got item description, and we'll come to that in a second. You'll see what implications that has. We also have serial hash. Now, one of the most important things is the location. And in the import, when I go to import here, if I go to assets, what we have here on this is quite small. We do have location name and location code. Now the problem with that, so there's location code, and there's location name. The problem is if you get this wrong, could be a spelling mistake or something, it's going to create a new asset and put it straight in. So what I usually do is I usually do the location code, because I can't go wrong. If I go back to my CMMS, just exit out of that. If I go to the asset import, you'll see here the location code is A157, building 1 A157, and then my sheet A157. So if I use location code, I can't go wrong. So I'm going to save that file, and it's ready to be imported. So we go to settings, import, assets. We're going to find the file on my computer. It's asset example, and all these are available on the help desk. We do have a help desk procedure called asset import overview, import overview, and it gives you all the examples, all the file formats, etc. Also give you the videos and the procedures, everything in one resource, and that's through the help in the CMMS. If I go to continue, here at the top you'll see my default asset category. So the default asset category for those assets that didn't have a category. So for example, this fridge, it doesn't have a category. This one doesn't have. So the 4 of the assets on the sheet don't have categories, and I can assign them to a category here. So let's say I want to assign them, just leave them at equipment, and I can do that later. But I could choose another category there if needed. Asset name. Now this is actually matched up perfectly. So asset name is what's on the sheet, and asset name here is what's on the in the drop down. This is what's in the CMMS. So you got to match up with what's on your Excel sheet to what's in the system. Category matched up, code matched up, supplier matched up, model matched up. And here we see that item description on the sheet did not find anything that it can match to in the system. So I need to select that manually. So item description is asset description. Serial pound, I suppose, or hash, it has not matched up to what's in the system. So we just select serial number. Location code, and this is again where you have to be careful. Location code, You don't want to make sure you don't match that up to location name, because then you'll create a new location with name A157, which will mess with the system. So location code, location code. So if everything goes well, let's see what happens. I'm importing this into the system. This is done the check. It looks like it's found 22 assets on the sheet. Looks like no problems so far. If there are any problems, you'll get notified now. That's importing them in straight away. So that's been done okay. Now, sometimes if you have made a mistake, there's no need to kind of panic. You can just re-import. So if I go to location 6, I now see an asset import location. There's all those assets now that I have on that sheet. They've just been added to, and imported directly in the system under that location. I can go in and change any of those as needed. Now, say for example, I did make a mistake and I said, oh, I made a mistake with that. Say this is not a step and scan system. This is a microwave oven. I just select save. And I can go back to import, and I would re-import that into the system. That's the only thing I've changed. Let's do that quickly. So it's the asset import example. Hopefully this will work first time. Let's see. Okay, continue. I'll just map these again. Item description is asset description. Serial number is serial number, and location code is done. Now when I go continue, it's going to analyze that file. It should find, there we go, a record of these. They already exist. So it's going to ask me, what do I want to do? So I'm going to go override, use this to answer for all the questions. So if this was, as I make mistakes with the import, I can just override it, or I can update and create new ones, etc. There's a few options there. So let's override. And that's going to be imported into the system and override that one asset that it was a step and scan. It's actually a microwave oven. So that should be imported in the system. Okay. Let me see if it worked. Hopefully it did. Do we see microwave oven? And there's microwave oven there. So that worked okay. So that's pretty much assets. Supplies are very similar, pretty much almost identical. You add them in much the same way. Let me just see if I can find a file or a part without having to. So here's a part that's been added to the system. Now you have exactly the same, almost the same tabs. You've got the personnel tab, which are the people that get listed. So we have created a group called logistics, and the logistics people, they'll get notified when this runs below its minimum level. We also have those other files, warranties. Not many parts will have warranties, but you never know. The businesses are the suppliers, and you see here Baldwin Filters supply this, and here is their number, the supplier part number. And I've also got the RFQs turned on, and that's going to be covered on Friday session. So if you haven't booked in for that, you should register for that. That will explain how all those RFQs work. But the parts are added in exactly the same way. The only difference is when we're going to, we can set them up with multiple locations because they are consumable parts. They're going to have multiple records. A repairable part is going to be unique. It's like a motor or something. You're going to take it out, you're going to repair it, you're going to put it back. With these parts, these gaskets or washers, things like that, you're going to just throw them in the bin. Could be batteries, etc. So let's say I want to make a new location for this particular part. I just go to the location drop down, and let's put the Chicago in. Let's see, main building in Chicago. Let's see. Actually, I'll put it in the building 1, the import location. A157, there it is. In that building, we have in aisle 1, row 1, bin 1, and we want to keep a minimum of 3 on hand at all time. And we've 0 in stock right now. So then we can see for this one particular part, we do have 3 locations. We have 3 in this location, 4 in this location, 3 in this location. And we also have our minimum levels as well if needed. So at any point in time, our technicians can log into the system, and if they don't have the part on site, but it is across town, that they can get that shipped over, etc. When setting up parts in the system, if I say, for example, just got a delivery of these parts here, customer, these Caterpillar gaskets, and I took them delivery at customer 6 location. If I just go into the system and say, oh, here now, all of a sudden we've gone from 3 to 13. The problem with doing that is when I do it, I have an adjustment in the system, but I've no record of this purchase. So what I would do is I would go to receipts below, and I'd say this was supplied by whoever that may be, let's say it's Husqvarna, I received 10 and I received them to this location, the asset import location that we made, A157. And I would then receive them to that location. And then there's a full record here. If I ever need to go back and see, who did I buy them off, etc. And if you use the purchasing module, you'll have a full purchasing information there. And I can see the quantity in hand has now jumped to 23. Let's just say we want to have a minimum of 3 of those in stock the whole time. So that's parts. And as I say, the way to add your part is just like your assets. You just click new on the top and you start filling out those fields. We do have a very a quick way of adding parts to the system. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of this. This is available. This is the tutorial on Wednesday. It's called MA Source here at the top. It's one of our newest features, and it's a database of about it's over 1 million parts and supplies and pieces of equipment. And we use some of the major MRO distributors like Grainger, Amazon. We're also adding further MRO vendors in the future. We're looking at some of those other names like McMaster-Carr and Ariba, etc. So if I want to add a new part to the system, I can do it the old-fashioned way. Click new and fill in that information, or I can actually piggyback on the database and say the Amazon database. So let's say I want a DC motor. I can just type it in the top here. I can check for DC motors in Amazon, or I can go to Grainger. Let's say I found my motor. I scan down the list, and here it is here. This is the DC motor that we have. It matches up, parts, supply, manufacturer, etc. I can, if I'm using the purchase module, I can actually create a purchase. But what I can do here is instantly create a new asset. So I can use the Grainger. I can piggyback on their database, and I can take that into my own database here. So I'm going to locate it in the Chicago facility. It's going to be a parter supply. So what it's going to do is going to take all that information, and here it is. It's taken the photo, it's taken all the details, the part number, the UNSPC number, it's a lot of details down the bottom there, how much the price at that point in time is. It's also going to import the businesses, etc. So these Grainger supplied it. This company here, Amtech, I've never heard of them. They are the manufacturer. Now, again, just like the import, this manufacturer might not have existed in the CMMS, but by pulling it into the system, I now have that information automatically loaded into my system. So the only thing I need to do now is set a location. It is in the Chicago location that I've set it as default. So I can go here to, let's put in the asset import example place that I said. It's in aisle row 2, let's say 2. And quantity in hand is 0, and I want to have a minimum of 2 at all time. And I'm going to add that purchase record to the system. Again, if you use the purchasing module, you can do that all by clicking through, but because this is not something we use the purchasing system to purchase, we'll just add it here. So we received 5. We paid, say there were 217. Let's say we paid $200 per unit. We received it to that one location. There's only one location here in the drop down because we've only got one set, and that is received in the system. And we now have that record here, that purchasing record, if you ever want to check that in the future. So that's pretty much the class for today. So what I'm going to do is before I finish, I'm just going to show you the advantage of multi-site here. So you can see here this little green icon here. If I switch to my other browser here and I've logged on as customer 6, this is what customer 6 sees. They only see their one location. So with multi-site, you can actually isolate your assets by location. So the person at like this site, Chicago site, doesn't care what happens at the other site. So they only want to see their site. They work at their site. So using multi-site, you can't separate those. So if you have multi-site set on, you'll see it's got this green icon here versus the brown icon. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to open up the floor now for any questions. I'm going to take everybody off mute, so hopefully it doesn't get too noisy. But yeah, if you have any questions, you can type them into the box or just start shouting them out loud. Sorry.
I gotta finish some stuff, but if you don't feel like making the trip, I would let you take it.
Okay, so no questions coming through there. You can type them into the box, as I say. If you would prefer to shout them out loud, shout them out loud.
Hello?
Hi. I see a question there came in. I'm just going to mute for 1 second because it's quite noisy. A question there came in from Robert Brown. Can you explain the bill of materials feature again? No problem. So in our parts section, you'll see here we do have a list of those parts. This view is not great here. I'm just going to change it. You can always add those different columns if you need. So I'm going to change this slightly. Just I want to see the make, the name as well here. That was missing from my view. So the name here of my parts listed. So these are the parts that I have added to the system. Okay. Now this is where I have my bill of materials groups. These are the bill of materials groups that we created. So let's say I want to create a new one. This is a list of parts that are used on a particular asset. So let's call this one the Dodge Ram BOM group. Okay, I'm going to start adding parts to it now. So let's say that gasket is used, the O-ring, and you'll notice the parts shoot over here to the side. Our sealers used, let's say the compressor blades, the O-ring, the DC motor, why not, intake filter, lube oil. So there we go, we have a list of about 8 or so parts that are used on this. I can adjust the quantities if needed. This is a new thing that came in about a week ago. If you want to add, say, this vehicle actually has 5 of them at any point in time. It's got, whereas we got the DC motor, we've one of those, etc. It's up to you if you want to use that or not. So that's our bill of material group built. I can click in, I can see I've got 8 parts in it. I can click in at any time and I can add parts or I can take them away. And then if I go to my my assets here, I can then populate the asset record with the bill of materials. So let's go to my Dodge Ram and I would just go add bit of materials group. I'll add the Dodge Ram and it's going to add those parts there down below. Now this list is tied to the asset. You can't individually delete the records here. If you want to take, like if I delete this here now, it's probably going to error out, I think. Yes, it won't let me do that. It's part of the group. So I need to go down here back to the bill of materials group. And if I want to remove it from the asset, I do it here and I take the whole list off because the list itself, it's one list. It must stick together. It must, you can't change it for each asset because then you can introduce errors, etc. So once the list is kept clean, it's common, it's across your entire asset category. In this case, the Dodge Rams, they would all have the same list of parts. So hopefully that answers your question, Robert. Okay, if there's any other questions, I've taken you off mute again if you want to shout them out. There is a bit of an echo, but hopefully we can work around it. Okay, so a question there has come in. I'm just going to put the mute back on again from this is from Michael actually. So it says here, can you use alphabets for location codes? Also, can you categorize electric bulbs? So location codes or asset codes, our system generates them automatically. If I create a new asset here, you'll see location name, see Chicago. When I create this new piece of equipment, it has generated A163 automatically, and our system will automatically do that for you. For people who don't have an asset naming convention or a coding system, we just have one built in. It's very simple. It's A is the asset and then the code. If you don't want to use that code, you can put in whenever you like. You could also use that naming convention that I said there. So some people, what they might do is say, there's the naming convention, but they might actually put the the Dodge Ram up here, and then they put the license plate down here. It's up to you, completely up to you, how you want to use those fields. You're not restricted in any way. The second question there, actually, the only restriction is when you're doing naming. If you use a dash, The system sometimes sees that as a minus, and this is also the same with Google. It's a common kind of computer thing or IT thing or coding thing that it doesn't see it as a dash, it sees it as a minus. So this will go looking for Dodge Ram minus 778. So you want to just be careful using minuses. If you can use like an underscore instead, or just leave a space or something, you'd be better off. So I have in the code here BT. I'd be better off just leaving that as a space. Second question is, how can you categorize electric bulbs? So if electric bulbs are consumable, you would just do in the supply section here, you've got your drop down for your categories. You can also categorize parts just like you categorize assets. So I would go into my CMMS settings section. I would create a new asset category here in the asset category section. It's under the parts and supplies area, and I would call that light bulbs. Now this is, again, I'm assuming this is light bulbs that are just disposed of. So parts and supplies would be the perfect place for that. I could then go into my supplies area, and let's just add a bulb directly into the system. Why not use MA source just to do that quickly? So let's see, we have some, let's say to go to the Grainger. Okay, well, there we go. There's a fluorescent, linear fluorescent. Let's add that as a part into the system. Not, you can do equipment or tool, but I'm going to add as a part here. Here's our linear fluorescent lamp added to the system. I'm just going to categorize that as light bulbs. So whenever my guys go looking for light bulbs, so in the supplies drop down here, I can do my long list of parts, and the guys can just filter here by, let's see what light bulbs we have, and they go, okay, well, we do have linear fluorescent lamps in the system. So hopefully that has answered the question for you, Robert. Or sorry, that was from Michael. So here we have Robert question here. How would one handle software IT or assets? So we have had a number of customers in the past who've done that. The very, very simple. Again, I one customer who had it in a tremendous amount of detail. He had an awful lot of categories. I would just do exactly the same thing. The way I set up this Dodge Ram for a truck, I would create my asset categories for those various different pieces of IT. So if it's a server or if it's a desktop computer, add it into the CMMS settings here. So you create your equipment category. It could be a subcategory called IT equipment. This might be a bit too much detail now. It's completely up to you. So I've created my IT equipment. Now let's call another one, call it servers. Again, it's up to you if you want to go into this much detail. And then in the asset section, I then add, so say for example, in the in the building here, whatever, in the generator room, we actually do have a desktop in there. I could use that naming convention. Actually, I want to make sure this is in that location. So let's say it's in the generator storeroom. It's the IT room. Let's see. So I added the wrong type of asset there, but let's just go with it anyway. So now in the generator storeroom, I have my IT room. I have actually, you can see I have an automatic or generator there. Where is it? Multimedia projectors. You can see some IT equipment there. Let's just say I create a new piece of equipment. It's in the Belmonts location. It's in the IT room, which is where we want to put it. So in the Belmonts, we put it in the generator room. It's in the IT room. And then we can call it, desktop 001 or whatever name I have. I then fill in all the information as per before. And then at any point in time, if I had categorized, I didn't do it, I'm sorry. I would categorize that as as a desktop. Okay, let's say IT equipment. I could then do my filter at any point in time. I can go, okay, I want to see what IT equipment I have in the system. And here it is here at the Belmont location, just the one computer. I can also run those reports by category. So I can check all my open work orders, or I can look at my, what's upcoming PMs, etc. need to be done, or, is there upgrades that need to be done on my computers, etc. So hopefully that has answered your question, Robert. If not, if you have a follow-up question, please feel free. Amir says, how could I disable pick a site feature for any user? So if I go into my users here, now I have in this screen here, you see I've got customer 6. They only have the one location. So if I go into my user groups and I open up Chicago Customer 6 and I go to Sites and User Groups and I pick a second one. So let's say I want him also to see the Belmont group. I'm going to give him the same. Actually, I'll give him different views. Why not? I'll give him the manager's views at this location. So now the user is able to see two different locations. In one of them, he's got customer user group permissions, and in the second group, he's got manager's permissions, or the second location. So you can actually configure this depending on where your guys are based. If I go back into my other browser, I just have to refresh this, and it'll show you exactly what the guy sees. So here in the Chicago location, he sees the Chicago assets as before. He's got dashboard maintenance, assets, reports. He's got the kind of basic here. You'll see in maintenance, the only thing he sees is work orders. I've configured it so the customer only sees their work orders. This is ideal for service providers. I've got this drop down above now, and I can now see. Well, let's flick between the Belmont side. Let's see what's going on there. And you see all the extra menu has appeared here on the left. And if I go to assets, he's now seeing customer 3, all the assets at that location. He's also seeing the schedule maintenance here. He can check what's due. He can also see the work orders for this site. There's no open work orders for this site right now, but there's the closed work orders. So simply by adding the user to those in the sites and user groups tab for that user, just adding the user there, I could configure what he sees. If I want to take him away, I just go in and uncheck him, and then he gets taken away from that site. Refresh back in, and you see the drop down will disappear because he's only got one site, but he's back to this small little menu item here on the left. Okay. So the question here from Anthony: when will this training be available for viewing again? Will this take probably about an hour or two just to compile this video and hopefully have it available on our website or on our YouTube page by the end of the day. If not today, it'll be tomorrow. We do have some recorded webinars there already if you want to check them out, if you if you missed it today. But hopefully by tomorrow morning, this will be available. Okay. Any other questions? Feel free to put them into the checkbox there or the chat window. I think it's working the best. Okay, so Amir says, I want him to see all the assets at the 2 sites without using the drop-down list. Is this possible? The only way to do that is with the administrator permissions. And what you do is you have to give the guy administrator permissions to both sites. However, the guy will see all the assets across all the sites. So if you have a customer, say for example, or a technician that sees Springfield, works in Springfield and Belmont, you can either give him all the permissions, which would be to see all the sites, or you can give him those single sites, so Springfield and Belmont. However, he will have the drop down. So the idea of the drop down is if you're at a physically different location, it's easier to work with. So that's why we built, and that's why our guys built it in like that. If you want to check between those locations, I mean, it makes it much easier if you're working on the system and you're working between 2 or 3 different sites. Hitting the drop down can kind of separate what's going on. It also separates these metrics here. So when I go to open work orders here, I see 17 open work orders. If I go into them, I see there are various different locations across the entire CMMS, different assets, different locations. So by giving that drop down, it just means it's easier for the guys to work between the different sites. So the answer to your question, yes, you can give them all sites, but they see all sites. You can't do 2 sites and they see all the information. They will see the drop down. Okay. See, there is another question there. I think, can you set up reason codes to allow fault analysis to be done? So right now in the CMMS, we do have a open field that is there in the completion. So I presume reason codes is your problem cause solution. It's your failure codes. So right now we do have our root cause here, which is what we have is a open field. We didn't build this functionality in yet. It's just an open field where you can type in, it's electrical. So you would type in your fault code there, And then when you go to the do your reporting, you can filter by this area, and you can see all your electrical problems or all your air leaks, etc. The other option, if you want to use maintenance types instead, you can also use them. It's a bit of a workaround, but you can use maintenance types as your failure codes. So here I've got all my different types. I could have one called air leak, and that would I can create that new on the fly. So let's give it a pink color. I'm just going to copy it across to the description. It's the same thing, name description. You'll see here air leak is now available. So I can also do my reports based on maintenance type. The way the system should work, it's the root cause. And we do have plans in the, I think it's in the short to medium term, to make this field a drop down like this one here. So you would build your 20 or 25 failure codes or reason codes, and then you would only be able to select from that drop down. So right now it is a free form field, unfortunately, but you could use maintenance types in the meantime. But it is planned, I think it's the medium term. I'd say we do plan to add those into the system. Okay. Okay. Is there any more questions coming through from anybody? So, okay, well, no more questions coming through, so we'll leave it for that. If you have time on Wednesday, we do have our MA Source webinar, and you will see how to do price comparisons, etc., between the various different suppliers. You'll see how to populate your system. You'll see how to purchase, bring those purchases into your system, etc. So that's on Wednesday. So tomorrow is work orders is full. Wednesday is MA Source, Thursday is schedule maintenance, and Friday is purchasing. So if you are free, you can hit the help here in the left-hand side, and you can go register for those trainings through that link there. Okay, guys, no more questions coming through. Went a bit over what we planned. That video will be available probably tomorrow. But if you do have any questions, you have the help section here in the CMMS. So feel free to have a look at those videos, have a look at those procedures, and you can also give us a call at any time. We are always available. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Bye bye.